When you send your kid to supposed to be a professional environment, you want your kid looked out after. You don't want your kid to be harmed by anyone.
Tonight, News 19 is investigating an alleged assault of a 5-year-old boy at a Columbia park. Good evening now, and thanks for being with us. I'm J.R. Berry.
And I'm Darcy Strickland. News 19 has confirmed the boy was participating in a city-run after-school program when the alleged incident happened. We're told a 16-year-old has been arrested, but the city is not releasing any information about the incident.
News 19's Lauren Thomas is on your side tonight. She went to the city of Columbia looking for answers to all of this. She joins us now from Lorick Park, where police say that crime took place. Lauren, what have you discovered?
Well, JR, we learned that the alleged assault happened here at Lorick Park at the end of July. And according to this police report, a 5-year-old boy was lured from the park and then assaulted by a teenager near the railroad tracks. This Columbia police report reveals that on July 28th, a 5-year-old told his mother that he was assaulted at Lorick Park. A 16-year-old was also arrested, and police say he gave a fake name to protect his identity. Police confirmed that the 5-year-old was part of a weekly summer camp being held at Lorick Park under the City of Columbia Parks and Recreation Department. According to the city website, the summer camp is designed for children to focus on their education, recreation, team building, and leadership skills. These camps are also for children ages 6 to 12. We went to the city and asked them why parents weren't notified about this incident, and they refused to comment, explaining that it was an ongoing investigation. Lee Carroll, Chief Executive Officer of Save Our Kids, has been looking into the incident as well and also wants to know why the city hasn't notified parents.
I heard about it 3 weeks ago, and when I tried to talk to different people that work with the city, they kept that hush-hush, and that really bothers me, because anytime you're running a free summer camp, I don't care if it's free or paid, you must have adequate staff.
Carroll believes there weren't enough staff to watch the kids at the camp.
So anybody should be held liable. It should be the City of Columbia, especially Parks and Rec.
What concerns you as a parent?
As a parent, when you send your kid to supposed to be a professional environment, you want your kid looked out after. You don't want your kid to be harmed by anyone.
Now, we went back to the City of Columbia and asked them how a 5-year-old could participate in a camp that's for children ages 6 to 12. We did not hear any answers from them, and they're not speaking on what happened or how the boy even became in their care. But reporting live in Columbia, Lauren Thomas, News 19, WLTX.
News 19 is continuing our investigation into the assault of a 5-year-old boy at a city-run summer camp in Columbia back in July.
Last night, we brought you news that a 16-year-old was arrested in connection with the assault, and tonight we're learning more about that incident, but still have yet to hear from a city leader on what exactly happened at one of their parks. News
19's Lauren Thomas is looking for answers tonight. She joins us now live at Columbia City Hall.
That's right, Darcy and JR. I'm outside of City Hall right now where the door remains closed on this issue. Columbia leaders say they cannot comment on what happened, citing that this is an ongoing investigation. However, today we continue to ask questions as to how a 5-year-old was assaulted on the city's care. As we reported yesterday, News 19 confirmed that a 5-year-old was lured from a summer camp program at Lorick Park by a 16-year-old and was assaulted. The incident happened on July 28th around 4 in the afternoon. The boy said the assault happened near the train tracks that were behind the park. Columbia police also confirmed that the assault happened. We asked why the public was not notified of the assault of a little boy at a city park. CPD said the teenager was arrested and there was no immediate threat to other kids. Meanwhile, we asked the city the same question. They tell us it's an ongoing investigation and they will not comment. That answer is not good enough. So News 19 emailed Mayor Steve Benjamin, City Manager Teresa Wilson, Senior Assistant City Manager Allison Baker, and called council members Tamika Isaac Devine, Ed McDowell, and Howard Duvall. They all said that they cannot comment and referred us back to Columbia Police, but we're going to continue to stay on top of the story until we get answers. Reporting live in Columbia outside of City Hall, Lauren Thomas, News 19, WLTX.
Lauren, thank you. Several days of asking by News 19, the City of Columbia has finally released a statement on a story we broke earlier this week. It has to do with the assault of a 5-year-old boy at a City of Columbia-run summer camp. News 19's Lauren Thomas joins us now with their response, and I know you've been asking them for days to give us some sort of response as to what happened. So what are they saying?
Well, JR, within the last half hour, we got this response, and the statement says in part that a criminal investigation was immediately initiated and is ongoing. A concurrent administrative review was initiated and disciplinary actions were taken involving staff of the Parks and Recreation Department, which resulted in terminations, suspensions, work improvement notices, and staff reassignments. This is just part of the statement. We'll have the full statement on our website, WLTX.com. But also tonight, we got a chance to hear from the grandfather of the 16-year-old accused of this assault. He's speaking out. Now, we're not sharing his identity, but he says he doesn't believe his grandson did anything wrong. Do you think that he committed this crime?
From the inside of what he's been taught and what my daughter's been taught, no.
The grandfather of the 16-year-old accused of assaulting a 5-year-old at Lorick Park is speaking out.
My daughter called me and was telling me that she haven't seen her son. So I told her to immediately call the hospitals and call the jail to make sure that he's all right, and I'll go out and look for him. Well, she called me back and said, "Dad, come to find out he's in Alvin S. Glen."
His grandson has been in the Alvin S. Glen Detention Center since the July 28th incident, when he was arrested at Lorick Park for assaulting a 5-year-old boy. His grandfather says they have no idea what's going on and want answers as to why they weren't notified of his arrest.
We don't know anything, and they not helping us to find out anything. Now, we believe he didn't do it. We definitely believe he didn't do it because he wasn't taught that type of behavior.
What is he facing right now? Do you know what he's facing?
What we were told is they charging him as an adult. And mind you, this is his first time ever being locked up. And he just turned 16 2 months ago. But they charging him as an adult. And they say he's facing 25 to life.
Now, the teen is expected to make his first appearance next week. And as I said before, that full statement will be on our website, WLTX.com.
Let's talk about that for just a moment, because according to that statement, terminations have resulted from this. So it clearly states that more than one person has lost their job. Suspensions, other people are off the job tonight, perhaps suspended for whatever happened out there.
Right, and we still don't know what happened. So the questions that we still have for the city are how this 5-year-old got into their care when their parks say, have an age range of 6 to 12 when it comes to those summer camps.
And that is perhaps the biggest question tonight. Why is the 5-year-old out there? He's not age appropriate, apparently, to be out there at that time.
Right.
Lauren Thomas, thank you so very much.
Tonight, we have continuing coverage of a sexual assault of a child at a city park here in Columbia. It's a story News 19 has been following for several weeks, and tonight we have some new information. News 19 has learned that a second sexual assault happened at a Columbia-run park months before our original story.
As we told you late last month, we've been following an alleged sexual assault of a 5-year-old boy at a city-run summer camp at Lorick Park in Columbia. That assault reportedly happened in late July. Our Lauren Thomas is here tonight with information on a second child that was reportedly sexually assaulted at that same park earlier in the summer.
After our original story last month, we pulled the crime numbers for Lorick Park. Those numbers showed 2 sexual assaults. We only knew of the one, and we only knew about that one because of a tip to the newsroom. So now we wanted to know, what was this second assault and why wasn't it reported? Here's the latest information we're learning. According to this Columbia police report we just received, on May 21st, a 9-year-old girl reported being sexually assaulted by a 15-year-old boy at Lorick Park. The report goes on to say that the teen was charged with indecent exposure and forcible sodomy. What is not clear is if the girl or the teen were part of the city-run summer camp. This new information comes just weeks after News 19 uncovered that a 16-year-old was arrested for the luring and sexual assault of a 5-year-old boy during the city-run summer camp program at Lorick Park in late July. That would mean these 2 cases of children being assaulted at Lorick Park happened just months apart. The city and the Columbia Police Department never issued a warning or release on either case. After a week of reporting by News 19 on the first assault, the city finally issued a statement saying there were terminations and suspensions as part of their ongoing internal investigation, and they wouldn't elaborate more, citing that ongoing investigation. So now we have one more question for their investigation. Why does it seem like the assault of now 2 children seems to have been swept under the rug? Reporting in the studio, Lauren Thomas, News 19, WLTX.
And News 19 is going to continue to follow that story. You can find the latest updates at WLTX.com and on our app.
News 19 has been investigating the sexual assault of 2 children at a Columbia park, home to a city-run summer camp for kids. Good evening now, and thanks for being with us. I'm J.R. Berry.
And I'm DARCI Strickland. We have been asking for several weeks to speak with someone from the city of Columbia on what happened and what has been done since they learned of the assaults. According to 2 Columbia police reports, in late July, a 5-year-old boy was lured from Lorick Park and sexually assaulted by a 16-year-old.
In that second assault that we learned happened in May, a Columbia police report reveals that a 9-year-old girl was sexually assaulted by a 15-year-old. This week we were offered an interview, and now, after waiting at City Hall all day, it appears that interview was canceled. News 19's Lauren Thomas is outside of City Hall tonight. Lauren?
JR, Darcy, on Wednesday we were offered a sit-down interview with City Manager Teresa Wilson to discuss disciplinary actions taken since the 2 reported sexual assaults of children at Lorick Park. We were asked to provide the questions for the interview ahead of time to Public Relations Director Leisha Utsi. It's not our policy to provide questions ahead of interviews, so instead we offered them the scope of what we would like answered in regards to their policy and procedures surrounding city parks and safety. And as a result, we were denied a sit-down interview with the city manager. While we aren't going to get these questions answered today, we will still push to find out why the public was not notified of the 2 reported sexual assaults of children at Lorick Park and what steps the city has taken since then to make sure these parks are safe for families. Reporting in Columbia, Lauren Thomas, News 19, WLTX.
News 19 has more information tonight into our ongoing investigation into 2 separate sexual assaults of children at a City of Columbia park that housed a city-run summer program. You'll remember the assaults happened at Lorick Park on May 21st and July 28th. The Columbia Police Department says in the July assault, a 5-year-old was lured from the park, sexually assaulted, and left near the train tracks. These 2 assaults were never reported to parents. News 19's Lauren Thomas joins us now with the latest on the investigation.
And Darcy, we've been covering this story since August, and a couple weeks ago we filed a Freedom of Information Act asking for the employee files of 3 city employees who were in supervisory roles at the City of Columbia Parks and Recreation Department. Tonight, those files show that those employees were fired because of those assaults and that the same teenager involved in the incidents assaulted both children. Disciplinary action forms paint a picture of why 3 City of Columbia Parks and Recreation employees were fired after the July 28th sexual assault of a 5-year-old boy by a teenager at Lorick Park. The 5-year-old was part of the city-run summer camp, although according to the city's website, children under the age of 6 are not allowed at the camp. This disciplinary action form for one of those city employees cites children below the age of 6 years old are routinely allowed to attend all summer camps throughout the city. The form continues to say that the lack of direction and supervision is considered a contributing factor to the incident at Lorick Park. According to the documentation, a second City Parks and Rec employee was fired over a recent vacation lasting 16 days during the month of July, saying your absence created a staff shortage which likely contributed to the July 28, 2017 incident involving an unsupervised child at the Lorick Park Summer Camp program. The disciplinary form goes on to say that this same supervisor gave an incomplete report about another child, this time a 9-year-old girl who was assaulted at that park by a teenager 9 weeks earlier. The form explains there is no indication that there was a follow-up for direction or confirmation of actions to be taken on the individual referenced in the incident report. Further, the incident report contained no name, and further investigation of the incident revealed that you were aware of the individual's name and frequency to the park location. The disciplinary form also says this same individual was involved in another similar incident at Lorick Park on July 28, 2017, according to a police report. A proactive approach to the May 21, 2017 incident report could have very well averted the reoccurrence of a similar act on July 28, 2017 by the same individual. So due to the investigation into Lorick Park assaults, it was found that a third employee was also allowing children under the age of 6 into another city-run summer camp, and that employee was also fired. The teen in the assaults was arrested for the assault of the 5-year-old boy and charged as an adult. No trial date has been set just yet.
There's still so many questions, Lauren. So the city had a practice of allowing children under the age of 6 into their summer camp?
No, it was just happening. And so this person who was an employee was allowing this to happen over a long period of time, and that was not allowed. You know, the city website even says 6 to 12-year-old children are allowed at these camps.
Still lots and lots of questions left to answer. Lauren Thomas, we appreciate it. Thank you.
And we begin with new developments tonight into our investigation into the reported sexual assault of children at a city-run park in Columbia. Lawsuits filed from 2 fired employees with the City of Columbia Parks and Recreation Department claimed their names and reputation were slandered following an investigation into a teenage boy sexually assaulting 2 different children at Lorick Park this past summer. As News 19's Lauren Thomas reports, these new lawsuits allege a 3rd sexual assault took place last year by the same teenager.
Well, the 2 fired city employees say they should not have been fired because of these assaults, and that understaffing and lack of security was reported before the last assault happened.
They never should have received any type of punishment like they did, and they were clearly scapegoated, as we see so often, for mistakes and errors that others make.
We sat down with Louis Cromer, the attorney representing both fired employees, to break down these lawsuits. The first fired employee had a supervisory role at Lorick Park. The lawsuit claims that she was not present at the park when the alleged May 21st sexual assault of a 9-year-old girl by a teenage boy took place. But the suit says when she learned of it, she advised her staff to report all relevant information to the city's central office. The lawsuit says the city's central office acknowledged receiving the information about the incident.
The fact is that the investigation was never completed. The alleged perpetrator was never identified, so there never was any way to really get at the heart of it.
According to the lawsuit, that employee also made requests to add cameras to the inside and rear entrance of the park building, repair the digital sign-in system, and fix a hole in the fence near the train tracks. The lawsuit says the city failed to remedy these situations. 2 months later, when the reported July 28th assault happened and a 5-year-old boy was reportedly sexually assaulted by a 16-year-old boy at the park near those train tracks, this employee was on what she calls an approved vacation. When she returned, she said she was told that vacation created a staff shortage, causing children to be unsupervised, ultimately contributing to that sexual assault incident and her firing. In the beginning of October, News 19 requested the personnel files of these employees. In the disciplinary action form for this employee, the form cited a recommendation for termination, referencing a proactive approach in the May 21, 2017 incident report could have very well averted the reoccurrence of a similar act on July 28, 2017 by the same individual. As for the second fired employee who oversaw multiple parks within the city, the suit claims she reported being understaffed and requested more summer staff for all the summer programs.
The choices that are made about staffing and the choices that are made about where the money is spent are set by the director and the people that in that area. They're not set by my client.
This employee, the suit claims, was also not present at the park on July 28th when the 5-year-old was reportedly assaulted. The lawsuit says when she heard of the incident, she immediately reported it to her director and questioned staff at the park, who claimed they called the on-call supervisor at the time about the incident. On August 1st, the lawsuit claims that this employee spoke with the Columbia city manager and learned that the teen arrested on the July 28th assault was not only accused of sexually assaulting a 9-year-old girl earlier in the summer on May 21st, but according to this lawsuit, also a 3-year-old child back in 2016. She was suspended for 5 days and later fired and told she was effectively terminated for lack of direction and insight. According to her disciplinary action form from the city, it states, "Your lack of direction and supervision is considered a contributing factor to the incident at Lorick Park and also contributes to this violation at other locations."
There's one plain fact that we've got to understand. Neither one of these ladies were there when this occurred. Neither of these ladies could have done anything to have prevented what occurred on that day, and neither of these ladies did anything that in any way caused this situation with this child and this alleged perpetrator.
Now, we reached out to the city of Columbia about these lawsuits, and at this time, they cannot comment on pending litigation. Reporting in Columbia, Lauren Thomas, News 19, WLTX.